Hello everybody, I'm Sports Source, your number one source of sports, and today we're talking about my NBA 2019-2020 NBA award predictions. Now the way I'm going to do this is for each of the major awards for MVP, Sixth Man, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to have who I think will win that award, who I think the runner-up will be, and who the dark horse will be. And if you don't know what the dark horse means, basically someone that just comes out of nowhere and, is in contention for that award, someone that no one's really talking about, because most of these awards are guys that they're names that you've seen before, but my dark horse will be someone that you haven't really seen before and someone to just look out for that award next season. But before we do that, smash that like button and subscribe for more NBA news and discussions. Without further ado, let's begin the video. Now for my first award, it's Most Improved Player, and it usually goes to like a third-year player, fourth-year player. It doesn't really go to a second-year player, and it's kind of hard to predict this award because you don't really know which players are going to take the jump. You can kind of tell sometimes, but it's really hard to predict guys that come out of nowhere, like Siakam this year, or CJ McCollum one year, or Oladipo the other year. But who I think winning it will be Jayson Tatum. He's entered his third NBA season, and that's usually when guys win this award, because you can't really win it your second season because all rookies are supposed to improve. But his third season, I think Jayson Tatum is going to do really well, because in Boston, things weren't really working out because he wasn't really a big focal point of the offense. It was kind of hard to juggle all those offensive weapons. Kyrie was there, but now that Kyrie's gone, Kemba's in, and Tatum's going to be that actual second best player on the team. He could maybe even take that reign of first player by the end of the season. We'll have to see how he does, but I think that he could average near 22 points per game, and I think that's pretty doable because we have, he said that he wanted to be an all-star. He wanted to win Most Improved Player. He wanted to do all this. And I think that that's very achievable for him. He's got the talent. People are saying he's overrated, but I think that he could put up a show this year for the Boston Celtics. And I think that they're just building a better culture there that he'll just be a bigger part of. My runner-up for Most Improved Player is Malik for the sole reason that the Charlotte Hornets suck. And when a team sucks, usually there's a young player that steps up to the plate and wins Most Improved Player because they're taking the majority of the shots. Now, the obvious one would be Terry Rozier, because Terry Rozier, he signed that big money. He's going to be their point guard, kind of in that Kemba Walker role. That's where they want him to be. But Malik Monk, I think can be a runner-up for this award. And it's a little bit more fun because he's in his third NBA season. We've seen that potential in college. He hasn't really been given that opportunity over his first 2 years in Charlotte at all. We've seen glimpses, tiny glimpses of his potential, but I think that's really there. They could be an amazing scorer. He's an amazing athlete. He could be a good shooter. He's not very efficient, and I don't expect him to be efficient on this Charlotte Hornets team, because how can you be efficient when your team is probably going to win less than 25 games? You just can't. And I think he's going to be taking a lot of shots, taking a lot more shots, and making a lot more shots. And he won't affect the team's record at all, but I just think that he'll put up very good numbers and be a runner-up for this award. And my dark horse, I don't actually see this player winning it because they're a second-year player, but it's Anthony Simons. Now, I'm a really big fan of Anthony Simons. We've seen him in Summer League do really good. We've seen him, he's got really good work ethic. We've seen him at the end of last season, he was putting on a couple good games, and I just see really big potential in this kid, like CJ McCollum level. I think he could reach that level, and I just really like him, and I think that he can make that jump next season. He didn't play a lot of minutes at all last season, but I think that Lillard's his mentor. He's been working hard in the gym this summer. I think that I'm not one of the only guys that has high expectations for him, but I think that he could come in and just be that 6th, 7th, 8th man on that team, get limited minutes, but he could shoot efficiently. He could facilitate the ball when Lillard and McCollum are out, and I just think that he's young, and he's going to prove himself this season a little bit and make a name for himself, because no one really knows Anthony Simons is kind of just like, who's that? But I think he put out a show on this season, and he can win Most Improved Player award, or not win it, but be in contention for it. The next award is Defensive Player of the Year award. Now, this award is kind of hard to predict because you don't know what teams' defenses are going to be the best sometimes, but you could kind of tell, like the Clippers, the Jazz, those teams are going to have really good defensive teams. But the winner of this award is, I have it going to Joel Embiid. And I have it going to Embiid because I think he's going to lead the league in blocks, and I think that he's going to anchor that 76ers defensive team because they are a lengthy defensive team. They got Richardson, they got Simmons, they got Horford. And I think that if he can play all 82 games, or not all 82 games, but if he could play a majority of the games, and he could put up really good defensive numbers, and the Philadelphia 76ers team does really well, then I think that he could be on this list. So, yeah, there's that. It has to really go to a player that, is on a good defensive team and that puts up good defensive numbers on a defensive team and just anchors. And I think that Embiid and Horford will both anchor that team, but I think that Embiid will come out as a very good defensive player. I think he's already one of the best defensive players in the league, but this year he's going to show it and win Most Improved Player. My runner-up for this award is Giannis, just because of how versatile he is on defense. He could play amazing on the perimeter. He could play amazing in the post. He's just so versatile, athletic, long, lengthy. He's everything you want in a defensive player. He was a candidate last year, and he was a prediction for me last year. I don't think that he'll win it just because I think that there's other guys that the team's defense will be better. Even though I do like the Bucks defense, you know, they got Bledsoe, Middleton, those guys are good defenders, and of course Giannis. But I just think that teams like the Sixers and, you know, the Jazz and stuff like that, I think they're going to have better defensive teams. But, you know, this is just a safe pick to pick Giannis in there because he's going to put up the defensive numbers. His team's going to be good defensively, but I don't really have him winning it just yet. And my dark horse is Myles Turner. Now, this isn't really a dark horse for some people because, you know, he led the league in blocks last year, and he was also the best defender on the best defending team in the league. But I just think people are really disrespecting him. He'd even make an all-NBA defensive team, which was really disrespectful. And I just can't really see any other guys that we haven't really heard of for this award really coming in and taking it. Because you've got guys like Gobert and Draymond, who I didn't mention. You've got guys like Embiid and Giannis. Those are proven guys. But I think Myles Turner isn't really proven yet. He's shown his defensive potential last year. I think they could show it this year too and be a dark horse for the Defensive Player of the Year award. The next award I have is the Sixth Man of the Year award. Now, the reason that Lou Will isn't on this list before all you guys hate on me is because I just can't see him winning it because I'm not really sure his role. Sixth Man of the Year is kind of hard to predict because you don't really know which players are going to come off the bench and do really good. Some players thrive in that role, some players don't, and just overall, you don't really know which players are going to come off the bench in general. Like Lou Will, Paul George is going to be missing a lot of games next season, and I think that Lou will start in those. Maybe, I'm not sure. He can play point, he can play shooting guard. I just think that his role will be bigger, and it's really, really boring to just pick Lou Will year after year after year, so I decided to spice it up. So with that being said, my winner for this award is Spencer Dinwiddie. You know, Kyrie Irving is coming in, and Spencer Dinwiddie is an amazing backup guard for them. He's tall, he's very good at playmaking, good shooter, and I just think that he could very much contribute off the bench. I think he could play with Kyrie at times, but I think that Karis LeVert will be taking a lot of those shooting guard minutes because I really like Karis LeVert. As long as he doesn't get injured, I think that Dinwiddie will stay on the bench and just be that plug to give Kyrie Irving some rest when he's not on the court. So that's what I have there. For my runner-up, I have JJ Reddick. Now, this is kind of, I haven't really heard people talk about JJ Reddick because he's probably going to come off the bench next year because your starting lineup for the New Orleans Pelicans is probably going to be Lonzo, Drew, Ingram, Zion, and Derek Favors. So that leaves JJ Reddick off the bench for probably not his first time in his career, but his first time in a long time coming off the bench. And I think that he could really adapt into that role. I think that he could play make a little bit more and facilitate off that bench because I can't really think of a point guard they have right now on the backup on their team. I could be wrong, but I think they're just going to take more of that facilitating role. He's going to shoot really good. He's going to be that veteran presence, and I think they could just contribute very well off the bench next season if he decides to play off the bench. And my dark horse for this team is Jeremy Lamb. Now, I think he's going to be backup shooting guard. The big question is if Oladipo, how many games he's going to start because, you know, he's going to be out for a while, probably December, and then who knows how many games that Jeremy Lamb will come off the bench. But I think that if Jeremy Lamb comes off the bench consistently, then I think he could be the Sixth Man of the Year just because we've seen him in that Charlotte role as that second guy, which is kind of sad. But now I think he could adapt to that bench role really nicely. There's not a lot of pressure on him at all. I think that he could just be a very good shooter, scorer off the bench. My next award is Rookie of the Year, and I have it going to Zion. Now, Zion, generational talent. Some people say that he's a bust. I have to see what he does on the court now, and it's really hard to predict his stats when we haven't really seen him on the NBA court yet, and there's nothing to really go off of, but I feel like Zion could do really good. The reason he's a weird Rookie of the Year candidate is because, you know, his team's already really good. When you look at first overall picks and high picks, usually they have that player because their team is really, really bad, but that's not the case with the new lottery rules and with Anthony Davis being traded for Ingram, Zoe, Hart, all those guys. You know, I think that Zion could step in, be very good defensively. Well, it does take some time for rookies to find themselves defensively, but I think they can score the ball. I think they can play make a little bit when those other guys aren't there. And it's really weird to think that Zion will probably be the third scoring option on this team, but I think they could average close to 18 points and just be really good and win the Rookie of the Year. My runner-up is Ja Morant. Now, he's going to get a lot of shot opportunities for the Memphis Grizzlies, and that's why I almost have him first, but that'd be a little bit too ridiculous. Zion is obviously the favorite because he's the first overall pick, but Ja, don't be surprised if Ja or RJ wins it. The reason I don't have RJ is because, you know, we kind of struggled in Summer League. I know that that's not really an indicator of how they will do in the NBA, but, you know, I just feel like there won't be a lot of... I feel like there's too much pressure on RJ Barrett for this rookie season, and I feel like he won't prove just yet. He'll show lots of glimpses, but I don't feel like he'll be a candidate over Ja Morant. And Ja Morant, there's really no pressure for him. And, you know, at least RJ Barrett has Randall, who's good, that could take some pressure off. Who does Ja Morant have? Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson. Ja Morant's going to be a very good facilitator, playmaker for this team. I think he's going to be a very good scorer. He's going to work on shooting. The problem I have with Ja Morant is how skinny and just weak he is. He's not strong enough yet. He's under 200 pounds. He's 6'3". He's a scrawny kid. You know, he needs to improve on his strength. I think he will after his rookie season. Usually rookies come in and not very strong like Trae Young, but Trae Young did gain 15 pounds of muscle, so maybe we could see that kind of jump from Ja Morant. But yeah, anyways, he's going to put up lots of numbers and play lots of minutes and get lots of opportunities on this Memphis Grizzlies team. And the dark horse, it's not really a dark horse because some people think this kid could actually win the award, but it's Michael Porter Jr. Now, he was drafted with the 13th overall pick last year, or no, it was 14th. He was drafted with the 14th overall pick, and people thought that he should have been the first overall pick if he didn't get injured, which is probably the case. So we know the potential is there. There's nothing really to go off of. The problem I have with him is how well he's going to fit with the Denver Nuggets. Obviously, they need that scorer because, you know, Jokic sometimes isn't really the most aggressive. And then you got Jamal Murray as your first scorer. And then you got Jokic kind of, they're splitting the scoring. And then, you know, you kind of need that third scorer, that star. And that's why, you know, I think that teams were kind of, you know, underestimating them. But Michael Porter Jr., I think, could step in as a rookie and average like 16 points. So I think that that's very reachable. He's got the scoring potential. He can score from anywhere on the court. He's 6'10". He's lengthy. I think he has the potential. I'm just not sure how early we will see his potential and scoring ability just yet, but I predict that he will be a candidate for this award. And now for the award you've all been waiting for, who I think will be the MVP. Now you guys all have to remember that lots of the MVP award is narrative and, you know, a good story. And I think that this player's going to put up the stats, they're going to be a top 3 seed, and that the narrative is going to be there. And that player is Anthony Davis. Now, is this biased because I'm a Lakers fan? No. It's just that everyone else has a duo. You know, Kawhi, Paul George, I can't really see them winning it because they're not going to play enough games. Donovan Mitchell, Gobert, they're not winning it. I'm just trying to think of the top seeds. You know, Embiid could win it if he's healthy, but I can't really see him being healthy, and there's not really a good narrative there. Giannis can win it, but the narrative's kind of gone. You know, if he wins it again, what's the narrative? What's the story? There really isn't. It's kind of boring if he wins it again. So I have Davis taking home the award, even though Giannis will probably be the first seed in the East and probably put up very good stats. I have Anthony Davis winning it just because I think LeBron will take a little bit of a step back to conserve himself for the playoffs, take lots of load management, and I think that Anthony Davis will just show that this is his team. He will bounce back from his minutes restriction in New Orleans. He will show the haters that, you know, he can play and that he's not always going to be injured. I think that he's just going to be a monster on the offensive and defensive end of the court. I think he's going to be the MVP of the league next season. My runner-up is Giannis. Like I said before, he's going to put up amazing stats. His team's going to be the first seed. You know, I think he's going to play kind of what he did last year. I know they said he's only at 60%, and I do kind of believe that. I don't really think he's going to add a jumper overnight. I think that his jumper will improve, but even if it doesn't, he was still the MVP without it, so I don't really see the big issue there. But Giannis, you know, he was stopped in the playoffs because of the lack of a jump shot, which kind of disappointing, but yeah, like I said, Giannis is probably going to put up the numbers to win the MVP award, but the narrative, the story isn't really going to be there. The scoop, you know, that's what the media wants. They want the more entertaining player. And, you know, we've seen Giannis, but we haven't really seen Anthony Davis as full potential. But if Giannis comes in and just averages a historic season and averages like 30 and shoots very good from three-point range, then I believe he could be a winner for this award. And for the Dark Horse Award, I have Kyrie Irving. Now, I made a whole video talking about Donovan Mitchell and why I think they could be a dark horse candidate, so I don't really want to do that again because I made a whole like 10-minute video on that. But the thing about Kyrie Irving is his team's probably going to be a top 4 seed, and I think that we're going to see a Kyrie Irving that we've never seen before. In Cleveland, he was the Robin to LeBron as Batman, and, you know, he wanted to go to his own team. That was the big problem within Cleveland. He wanted to go to his own team and be a leader, and, you know, he didn't really get what he signed up for when he went to Boston because he tried to play, or he was forced to play team ball. He was forced to give the ball to these other guys, facilitate, but, you know, he's a scorer. He's an ISO player. He wants to be that ISO king that we all know, the James Harden, you know, stuff like that. So I think in Brooklyn, he's going to be utilized. You know, with KD out, I think Kyrie is going to go on an absolute tear. He's going to play ISO every game. He's going to take a lot of shots, and he's going to make a lot of shots. His team's going to be good, and I think that he's a dark horse candidate that I haven't really heard anyone talking about for this award. Thank you all for watching. What do you think of my award predictions? Let me know yours down in the comment section below. And that's all for me now. Subscribe to join Sports Source Nation, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and goodbye.